Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about executive employment offers. I'm calling them executive employment offers, but it could apply to any sort of mid to senior level employee. It could be software developers, lead architects, VP of technology, VP of operations, marketing, or even C-level executives. Although with C-level executives, there's slightly different concerns that I will address in this video. But to start with, one of the first things you obviously need to consider is whether you have any non-compete obligations or other restrictive covenants with a current employer. You want to make sure that you don't negotiate this new offer and then come to find out that you can't really work for the new employer because you've signed a non-compete and then you can't work in the new field. This is specifically, it could be a big issue for technology, but also for salespeople, because if you're in the sales role and you're going to be working for a new company, your sales cycle might be 6 to 9 months. So if you have a year or 2-year non-compete, you're going to be sitting in a new company and you're not going to be able to sell anything because it's very difficult to generate new sales leads, especially for technology sales. So just review your non-compete and other restrictive covenants. If there are more than one person joining a new company, you also need to worry about non-solicitation provisions, which is a restrictive covenant. In that case, you do want the current employer to say that one person solicited another one to join the new employer. Then it comes to the scope of your duties. Primarily this is a concern for more C-level executives. You want to be able to, you've left a company, or you have this opportunity cost because doing something else, you're joining this company. You want to make sure that you have some say in the decision-making process. For some of the early stage companies, you could, for example, ask for a board seat, just so you're in the know-how in terms of what is happening. You may be involved in other activities, you may be involved in other startups. When you're involved in other startups, obviously it takes time, and you're also creating some intellectual property for other startups. So you want to make sure that in the scope of duties that you are allowed to, for example, get engaged with those startups, be able to attend those meetings, and also to the extent that you're creating intellectual property for other startups, that intellectual property would belong to the other ventures and not to this employer, and the employer has to be told that on day one, so they're aware of it, so later on it doesn't cause any issues. For a lot of individuals, sign-up bonus is not as important, except for people who, for example, accrued sign-up bonus that has not been paid with the current employer. Sorry, accrued another bonus that has not been paid. So they've obviously, if you join somebody and you've spent most of the year working for another employer and you've accrued bonus, you're letting go of that bonus to join a new employer. So you want to make sure that the new employer will gross up that bonus. So so you need to negotiate that on day one. With bonus, if you do get bonus, make sure that you look at the clawback provision. Essentially, it says that you'll stay with the company for a certain period of time, and if you don't, you will basically have to repay that bonus. With clawback, make sure that any clawback provision is prorated. So that means, let's say you had a 2-year commitment and you stayed for a year, that you don't have to pay the entire amount, that you'll just have to repay half of that. Or you could do it on a monthly basis. So let's say if you've done 14 months, you only have to pay for the remaining period and not anything else. With salary, the key thing here is just to benchmark it against market standards. It's difficult to do benchmarking for smaller companies. With mid-level or large companies, there are tools, and I use a tool that allows me to benchmark against certain positions. For example, VP level or higher positions, I can benchmark and see what a similar person in another company received, and that helps negotiate their salary. For early stage companies, usually it's not just the salary. It's the salary plus equity, either in the form of restricted stock or options. So you might get a lower salary, but you might get some equity. So that's the way to justify the lower salary. You want to make sure that it's subject to periodic review, though. so you can increase it, and it's when it's reviewed that it's subject to increase and not decrease. Bonus, certain types of positions will have bonus, sales bonus, or in certain cases, operations people can sometimes have bonus based on them reaching some milestones. Financial people can have it based on reaching some financial milestones. There could also be guaranteed bonus, which is great. Although in most cases, if there's a bonus provision, you'll probably find that there's a discretionary bonus. It essentially means if the company is happy with you at the end of the year and the company is making money, you'll get some extra money from them. With equity, sometimes these are standalone grants for early stage companies, but in most cases, if the company has been established and has been funded, it is usually granted under an incentive plan, and then it has a vesting schedule or cliff period. Essentially, you have to stay with the company for a number of years to earn it, or you have to reach some milestones, depending on what you've negotiated. Usually, you could have a 3-year to 4-year vesting schedule, and you vest over, on a monthly basis. Sometimes it'll include a 12-month cliff period. That means you have to stay with the company for at least 12 months to be able to earn any equity. Then there are other issues like, I'm calling them fringe, but not everything is a fringe benefit. But essentially, whether you'll get a company car, whether you'll get a gym membership, healthcare, and then whether how many vacation days you'll get. So those are not a lot of times, well, healthcare is, but other than that, these are not common. Car is not common, gym is not common, but you could definitely ask for it. And then finally, I've highlighted these key issues. There are other things in an employment offer that you need to look at as well, but the most important thing is exit, I think. And this is more important for maybe if you get really to C-level, but even at mid-level, you need to negotiate that exit. And this applies, what I mean by that is, you have some accrued salary, we may have some accrued bonus, and then you may be subject to a vesting schedule. And certain things were promised to you when you joined. You want to make sure that those things are the way they are. And if they change, that you have a way out. So, I've just kind of done it into 6 exit scenarios. Death is death. So, in that case, what happens with your accrued salary, accrued bonus, and whether we're doing any sort of acceleration if something like that happens, and how long of a period does your estate have? It could be up to 60 days or 90 or even longer for the state to be able to claim whatever it is that, for example, if you have accelerated equity, if you vested equity, to be able to claim that. Disability, this is another one. If you're disabled for, let's say, longer than 9 months or longer, 9 to 12 months, what happens in that case? So we need to negotiate that. Also, one thing that's not on this board is acceleration for a change in control. What happens if the company changes hands? What happens if the company gets sold? You need to negotiate, for example, whether you accelerate immediately or whether you have some other payments coming in. So once we've dealt with these 4 items, these 4 scenarios are what is more likely. Either you're terminated without cause, or you resign because there's a good reason. And these are both defined terms. In both of these cases, you've been wronged in some way. And we can define cause as something terrible that you've done, and good reason is something terrible that the company's done. So if you get terminated without any cause, or if you resign for a good reason, in most cases you definitely ask for some sort of acceleration of equity. So you're accelerated 100% on the unvested portion. You should ask for the accrued bonus to be paid, and you can ask for a lot more. Sometimes at C-level you can ask for a salary multiple, so you could ask 2 times, 3 times your yearly salary. In other scenarios where you're terminated with cause or without good reason, most companies will not pay you anything or accelerate any equity. However, in certain cases, some companies have primarily if they've originated out of the EU and European, tend to even have some severance plans for even these terminations. So, you know, you should look into it. Whether you can get it is a different matter, but at least maybe there's no harm in initially trying. So in terms of exit scenarios, those are some of the exit scenarios. I hope this video gives you a good starting point to negotiate your employment offer. And then if you need assistance, or if you need to set up a call with me, you know, or if you need somebody to negotiate on your behalf, please reach out.